welcome back, or if you're new here, hi, hello, welcome. My name is Zoe and this is my channel, Ms. Manga, where I talk a lot about manga. Before we get into this video, I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who subscribed. We hit the goal of 500 subscribers and obviously it's all thanks to you. So I am truly just so happy to see the growth of this channel and to see your interactions and comments, and it's just super fun and I'm really enjoying it. So I'm really happy that we got to 500 because that hopefully means you're enjoying it too. And yeah, I just wanted to say how happy I am and how thankful I am before we get started on today's video. And you might have noticed by the little intro that I changed up. It's not going to be exactly just a manga review. This is going to be a manga review and a bit of an Iceland vlog. It's not exactly a vlog because I don't know how to vlog, but it's just me and sometimes my mom and just mostly the beautiful places that we saw in Iceland. So yeah. I just really wanted to figure out a way to share my trip and the beautiful country of Iceland with you all on this channel. And Iceland's not exactly kind of, I don't know, like easily connected to the manga world, like say Japan would be. But I think I figured out a really fun way of integrating manga and my trip together, and that is by talking about a specific manga series that I am really enjoying, and that series is Go With the Clouds North by Northwest. So absolutely, first of all, let's talk about how stunning the covers are. Like all of them are. I'm going to try and showcase all of them. And if I hadn't already been planning this video, I would have included it in my recent beautiful covers video. I think this is a superb example and it's a really interesting story too. But it's got stunning covers all the way through, and even the back covers are so unique and just specific to this story because we have different things that pop up in the story. But also it's like an Icelandic glossary, which is just super cool and interesting. So yeah, so before we get into the series itself, I do want to say that I read a different series by this mangaka, Ran in the Grey World. I talk about it in one of my very first videos on here in the completed manga reads. I don't remember if it was part 1 or part 2. If you want to hear my full thoughts on it, it's safe to say I didn't love it. Okay, so I luckily started reading, I collected them roughly around the same time. Like I started collecting both of them because their covers are both gorgeous and they both caught my eye. But I did start actually reading this one and became way more invested in this one first. And then I read the first volume of that one and I was kind of like, this is weird, but I'll give it a chance. So I finished collecting that one, read it, and yeah, it's still weird. It's still got some bigger things that I couldn't quite feel okay about. The issues I had in Ran the Grey World were that she was a literal child who had magic sneakers to turn herself into looking like more of a older teenager, young adult. The age wasn't specified. Anyway, she got entangled with an older man who was actually older, like 30. She was a literal 10-year-old child. So that wasn't okay to me. I know it's fiction. I kept telling myself it's fiction, but that dynamic just kept making me not enjoy the series, where this one does have some questionable things in, I'll go more into detail with them, but at least in this case, they're both 17-year-old teenagers. So yeah, it just feels a little bit more okay to me personally as a reader. But yeah, you can make your own decisions on how you would feel about reading this because I will go into it in more detail later on. But I just wanted to get that out of the way. I really love this series. I don't really recommend that one. Hopefully this one ends all good, but so far I've been really enjoying it. So it is ongoing at the moment. And with that, let's get into talking about Go With the Clouds North by Northwest. So this story follows our main protagonist, Kay, and he is Japanese, but his grandfather is, I believe it says he's French, and he ends up moving to Iceland. And so when Kay's parents pass, he ends up also going to Iceland to live with his grandfather. He takes odd jobs in Iceland where he might look for a missing person, or like kind of be like a little bit of a private investigator looking into someone cheating, or it might be something as simple as taking a tourist to sightsee around Iceland, or a specific thing they want to see in Iceland. So it's just an odd jobs, and he'll take pretty much anything he can get. So one of the first jobs we see him take is to help a very beautiful woman to find a rather interesting older gentleman that she met at a hot springs. And that older gentleman happens to be Kay's grandfather. So he easily can introduce them, and then they kind of have a casual relationship. So she is a minor character that keeps recurring throughout the story. And it also kind of showcases early on how important and how big hot springs are in Iceland, and how locals and tourists alike really just love visiting them, soaking in the waters. Geothermal hot springs in Iceland are amazing. I became a huge fan of onsens when I went to Japan, and now I'm a huge fan of the hot springs in Iceland. I personally went to 4 of them, and I think my favorite 2 were the Secret Lagoon, which I'll just share a little clip of. It also was in the beginning of this video, and it was so relaxing. It had a little place where you could walk around and see little like baby geyser type hot water bubbling. You could smell the sulfur, which wasn't too bad because the wind was not pushing the sulfur into our faces while we were in the pool. And the water was just so relaxing and, I don't know, calming. Yeah, it's like a whole atmosphere. But they definitely highlight the hot springs occasionally in this series, which, you know, I think is great because it is a big part of Icelandic culture and one of the amazing things that you can do when you're there. I personally did not go to the Blue Lagoon, which is like the most famous one, but I really liked the Secret Lagoon, which is a bit smaller, but also a bit cheaper and a bit less touristy. I went early though, so I think that helped. And then we also went to GOC, which was more northern, and it was amazing. That one was a little more pricey, but it was so beautiful. We were right on the ocean, like right above the ocean, so you could just stare out into this gorgeous scenery while you soaked in the water. And again, we went later in the evening, like at 5:30ish, 6 I think, and it was a great time. People were leaving as we were coming in, and again, there was people there, but you could find a little secluded spot all to yourself, and it just made it that much better. And yeah, so we just soaked in the atmosphere and relaxed, and we spent about 2 hours there. So, because I wanted to get my money's worth. That one was expensive. But those were my 2 favorites. And then my third favorite was this really cool one that you had to hike to. And this is featured in this manga. When Kay's friend from Japan ends up flying to Iceland to visit, Kay takes him to a really cool Icelandic spots, one of which is the other hot springs that I went to, which is I'm terrible at Icelandic words, by the way. And this one was really, really amazing, more so for me for the hike and the beautiful views. The hot springs themselves were nice, but they weren't my favorite. They are very shallow, and the water was very warm when we went. So we actually got a bit lightheaded, which was more on us than anything. But still, like, it was, yeah, you had to sit down, like, and it only went to like your waist. So it, you know, you couldn't stand and have it be like remotely, it would just be on your like ankles, like, you know, it was more natural, and the rocks were very much hard to walk on. I guess we don't have Icelandic feet because ouch. A lot of other people that were there were wearing like flip-flops and stuff, and I wish that we had brought something like that, but we didn't. So we just wore hiking boots in, and so we just had to kind of limp across the rocks until we settled in. But this place is very beautiful. The views are very beautiful. And in this manga, they take Kay's friend there, and he really seems to enjoy the hot springs as well. They also run into Lilja. again, I'm probably butchering it, but this is her, who happens to be the woman that was looking for Jacques, Kay's grandfather, her niece. So she is also a reoccurring minor character throughout the story, and her and Kay have this back and forth, kind of enemies relationship, but you can feel a bit of sexual tension. There is some back and forth, kind of sexual harassment between them, so just wanted to like get that out of the way and warn you if you want no part in that. Totally understandable. There is some misunderstanding, some accidental moment in which Kate sees Lilja naked early on and then runs into her again. There is some unwanted touching that again is accidental, and then she feels, you know, a certain way and wants to get back at him. Not okay in real life. You know, so she actually purposefully sexually harasses him to get even. Again, not okay in real life. This is fiction. They're kind of cute. Their dynamic is cute. It's a bit enemies to lovers vibe. It's a bit fated lovers because they kind of keep running into each other even before the connection between her aunt and his grandfather is established. And they run into each other like in this instance. And I think it's a sweet relationship. They also seem very similar. They get on each other's nerves and it's cute. It's cute. Like I like at least they're the same age and 17. It's just like there's a bit of fan service with that interaction, but I don't mind it. But again, I want to warn people because not everyone, you know, will view that in a good way, and you shouldn't in real life. But in fiction, I take more liberties, but other people don't, and that's totally okay. So I want to give a warning about that. So yeah, speaking of Lilja, here she is, another stunning cover. I mean, my God, so beautiful. So a huge other component of Iceland is just the amazing scenery. Driving around Iceland is just beautiful, and Kay does a lot of driving, and while he's doing his odd jobs, and also driving just seems to be a big thing that he enjoys. It relaxes him. And a component about the story that I haven't talked about yet is that supernatural component. So Kay and seemingly his whole family have unusual abilities, let's say. Kay's ability is to be able to speak in a way to machines, so he can communicate with his car, which is another reason that he enjoys, you know, the solitude of driving, but also the companionship of his vehicle, just being out on the road together. And he also can like get information for his job through touching like a cellular phone or different vehicles, or, you know, different devices. So that's his power. His grandfather is able to talk and communicate with birds. And then we have the third character of the family, Kay's little brother, Michitaka. So Michitaka has not really a good power from what we see. So we don't know if Kay knows what his abilities are. He doesn't want to share his abilities with many people himself, so I'm not sure if he's privy to his brother's abilities, and they aren't fully conveyed to us, but he seems to have an ability that can hurt, possibly even kill people. It's a major mystery going through this series. Is Michitaka a bad guy? He seems innocent and very beautiful and cute and spoiled, but just loves his big brother, ends up following him to Iceland because Kay had thought it best to leave him in Japan with his aunt and uncle. But then they mysteriously pass, and more people are suspecting him and accusing him of murdering other people. So possibly even his aunt and uncle. So that's a huge element to this story as well. It's very interesting because it has a lot of different things to it. It really gives you that Icelandic atmosphere. It also goes back to Japan a couple times, so you get that Japanese experience, culture, and, you know, as well. But I really, you know, obviously I'm showcasing it because of the Iceland, beautiful scenic drives that I got to drive on because we traveled around the Ring Road, which is the main road circling kind of the overall island. And it's just gorgeous views. There's mountains, there's oceans, there's cliffs. It's just very, very, very beautiful. And it was really like a lot of windy roads, kind of creepy sometimes, some narrow one-way bridges and stuff. But overall, it was really really enjoyable, and I'm glad we rented a car and got to drive. That was something I so wanted to do if I went to Iceland, and I think that was partially from Kay loving driving around Iceland as well, because I did read, I think it was up to volume 4 or so by the time that I decided I wanted to go to Iceland. And then I forgot to mention another huge thing that's big in Iceland: the waterfalls. Waterfalls are literally everywhere in Iceland. Sometimes you see them driving. So we've stopped at a couple that we just like happened upon, like, oh, hey, here's a turnoff and a beautiful waterfall. Let's stop and, you know, get out of the car, walk around. And we especially loved 2 waterfalls in particular. This one that Kay also brings his friend when he visits, and it is just a stunning, beautiful waterfall. It was the first thing we went and did our first full day in Iceland. We got up really early, so after like, you know, having a little coffee breakfast moment, we ended up just being like, let's just go to it. It was like about 30 minutes away. We got there at like 6:30. Nothing was open, but that didn't matter because you didn't need like the souvenir shop or the cafe or anything, and there was hardly anyone else there, and it was just breathtaking. Like, oh my god, like you can see just such a natural wonder, and I absolutely love it. I love that we went early and we really got to experience it almost alone. And I think, yeah, I mean, I'm just a tourist that loves to travel and not with other tourists. So that's my traveling preference, is to get up early and see things when it's not crowded. And I don't do tour groups and I don't do that stuff. If you do, that's great too. I think it's gonna be beautiful if you go with people or without. And then the second one that we went to, which hasn't been featured in this manga yet, at least, but another one of my favorite freaking waterfalls we saw was Godafoss. I think I'm saying that one right. I don't know. But this one was also just majestic, awe-inspiring. We could get really close to both of them, really. There was different points you could go up top to be closer to the top of the waterfall, and we even were able to go down in this particular second waterfall, and you went down some steps and then you were like close to it but on like more of the riverbank level, which was also really cool. I mean, it was just amazing from every which way. That day happened to be a lot colder and it was snowing, but we had a blast anyway. And honestly, like, I love the cold, so Iceland was a win for me. Like, we went in April and it was pretty chilly, but again, less touristy than it would have been in their high seasons of like June, July, August. So yeah, I didn't mind the cold at all. And I actually think the snow made this waterfall so beautiful. And in the series, the manga series, it also features a lot of snow and wind and the cold and then like some rain and all the kind of cool elements. So I also kind of wanted to wait to talk about it with the changing seasons. Well, we're going into fall and winter, and this is just a really great read if this series at all interested you for these coming months. And another reason I wanted to talk about it this month of September was that the 6th and most current volume just came out, and I just got it today. And now I'm filming because I was really hoping that it would come so that I could include it in this video. Not that it was necessary to, but I just thought it would be fun to. And it's another reason that I think it's worth picking up this series because it's got another volume out. I will warn you that the volumes seem to be rather slow in releasing, so if that's something that bugs you, yeah, it bugs me too. But we finally got another volume of it, and oh my god, this latest volume, no spoilers, but there was a shocking twist. And then I also kind of agree with the direction that it went, and that I'm suspicious of the twist and the genuineness of it. So it's very interesting. Again, the series is just full of the atmospheric beauty of Iceland. So if you want to just, you know, if you can't get on a flight and go experience it for yourself, or if you don't know if you want to, I would definitely recommend just investing in this manga instead to get a taste of it, because you get some of the just day-to-day life, you get some of the highlights of the, you know, beauty, the tourist attractions, like the famous church that we also went up. It was a cloudy day, so it wasn't the best of days, and boy, the wind was strong, but it was still beautiful. I love a scenic outlook, and there's so much beauty in Iceland. Honestly, I enjoyed more just driving around and being in the smaller cities personally, but I think that the main city of Reykjavik is also a super nice city, and if I hadn't gotten sick at the very end of it, I might have enjoyed it even more. But yeah, that was unfortunate. I also couldn't find any manga when I was there, although in this manga, the people say that there's manga in Iceland. If you live in Iceland or been and you found manga, tell me where. I mean, I might have looked harder and been able to find it again if I hadn't gotten sick, but comment below and tell me, like, is there manga in Iceland? I mean, just going into a few bookstores, it was shockingly expensive for these books. Like, I'm guessing because you have to import everything and not a lot gets printed on the island. But wow, yeah, I was shocked. So again, it's why I'm highlighting this series instead of anything that I actually, any manga that I actually bought there. I would have loved to buy this series in Iceland. I would have bought the first volume again because I'm that weird. Just to say I bought in Iceland a book that's based around Iceland as a huge part of it. But yeah, I didn't find it, sadly. Like I said, I think this is the perfect read right now. Like, it just gives you those cool, mostly like fall winter vibes, and it is just very beautiful. The art, just looking through it, is beautiful, just like Iceland is beautiful. So I think it captures it really, really well. And I think the supernatural element and the mystery component will keep you reading and intrigued with the series, despite, it having a bit of a slice of life nature to it. It has a lot of layers and depth, and the characters are likable, in my opinion anyway. Like I said, there might be a few reasons you don't want to pick it up, totally understandable, but I thoroughly enjoyed it, even with the light fan service and what I mentioned before. Anyway, I highly recommend this series. Beautiful, stunning covers, and just a really interesting, different story, in my opinion. Mostly, due to the fact that it takes place in a different country, and it really capitalizes on that and showcases that, which I think is really great. I loved reading it before I went to Iceland. It really made me more intrigued with the country itself, and having reread it recently in order to make this video after going to Iceland, it just made me remember fondly and smile at the moments that I could relate back to my trip and the sights that I saw and what I experienced. So yeah, if you've been to Iceland or haven't, I think that you'll really enjoy this series. So that'll do it with this manga review / little bit of my Iceland journey that I wanted to share with you all. Like I said, I'm not a vlogger and this was a country that I didn't know how to vlog and integrate into this channel. I think in my upcoming trip that I'm planning with my cousin to Japan again, that will integrate a lot better on this channel, and I will do maybe an actual vlog type style video here and there. But in this case, this just made the most sense for me to talk about manga, which is what my manga channel is about, but also to just talk about how much I loved Iceland. Such a beautiful country. I seriously recommend going if you can, if you have the chance. And I really recommend getting a car and driving around, because that was just like, it's just such a worthwhile experience in my opinion. So yeah, comment below if you've been to Iceland. Let me know what you thought, where you went. We stayed in a couple different cities around, moving around the island. And yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this video. It was definitely a bit different. Thank you to everyone who subscribed. We hit the 500 goal, and I am so incredibly excited to see the growth of this channel, and I hope you all are enjoying the videos I'm putting out. Please, if you like this video, hit that little thumbs up button so that I get that engagement. Comment below where you'd like to go, where you have gone, any trips where you think I should go. I don't know, recommend me a trip. I love traveling. Manga and traveling are like my two biggest hobbies in life. So yeah, any opportunity I had to combine the two and this YouTube channel, I took it. So until next time.